My name's Clara, and today I'm going to be your keeper of ancient lore. So you've played Dungeons and Dragons, you had a lot of fun, but it wasn't scratching just the right itch. You're more into horror, or you like detective work. Have I got the system for you? It's called Call of Cthulhu. This is the system that is based heavily upon the H.P. Lovecraft short stories and books from the 1920s. You play a detective, or you play a actress, and you know something's just not right. There's something in the shadows. You just have to figure out what it is. There are people whispering, and you can feel the evilness coming around. So you and a bunch of other detectives, at least two others, go on an adventure together and tell your story of how you defeated the ancient elder gods that the cultists were trying to resurrect. So, what are the things that you need to start your first game of Call of Cthulhu? Well, you need a keeper, you need two other players, so 3 total players, to make it the best results. You're going to need a character sheet, which you can get for free as a PDF off of the website by Chaosium Incorporated, who put out the Call of Cthulhu. You can also print some pre-generated characters if you're not up to snuff about creating your own detective. And then you're going to need a set of regular dice that you would find even from playing Dungeons and Dragons. The dice that you're going to use most of all, though, are the 10-sided dice, or as known as the percentile dice. So you're going to want to have extra of these. Now let's talk about these 2 fine books. Again, you can go to Chaosium Incorporated's website and you can print an easy to start PDF that gives you all of the basic rules on how to start creating your own character and how to play your own game. But they also have these nice additions where it's the Investigator Handbook, which is going to tell you how to create your own character and go into things such as occupations and backgrounds. It's also going to give you some flavor text that's going to explain to you about the 1920s, which most campaigns take place in. You can be modern day, but this will give you a lot more background into the Roaring '20s. This is the Keeper Handbook. This is the one that the Keeper of Ancient Lore, like myself, will use to help design a game and know all the rules involving combat, detective work, character creation. All of that is going to be available in here. Plus, it also has a lot of resources, such as a character sheet you can make copies of, and it gives you maps that you can use into common cities such as Arkham. And it also gives you a few sample, quick one-shot campaigns that you can do with your players. Now, let's go into detail about the character sheet and how you create your own. Let's talk about the character sheet. We're going to focus on the important parts such as your characteristics, your details of your character, sanity, luck, magic points, and then investigator skills. You'll notice that much like Dungeons and Dragons, you have your base statistics or stats. Unlike Dungeons and Dragons, which only has 6, there are 8 here. Your size can be important when you're doing combat. Your appearance may affect your charm, and your education may affect your credit rating and how much you start with. Most of your investigator skills are actually based on what you get in your education. As you'll notice in these skills, they each have a bigger box and then 2 smaller boxes. So, we're going to look specifically at swim. You'll notice that we have 70, 35, and 14. Because this is where your skill is going to go that you roll for, then the half, and then the 1/5. Now we're going to focus on how you get your characteristics. What you're going to need are 3 6-sided die, some scrap paper, and a pencil. The reason you're going to need the scrap paper is because once you get your statistic, you don't immediately put it on your sheet because there are certain things that may change the numbers you originally start with and how they go there. But we'll go on over that in a little bit. So what you do is you take your 3 6-sided die, you roll it, you add them together for strength. So we have 11, 14, and then you're going to times it by 5. So that's 70. So you would write down for your strength 70. Now I'm going to go quickly and I'm going to roll all of them, write them all down, and then we'll get back. As you can see on my little scrap sheet,
I did very well with strength. I didn't do so well with con, size, appearance, and power. But I did get 65 for education, intellect is 70, and dex is 55. Now remember, I want my character to be the age of 73. We're going to go look at what it says in the book, where it shows you how for the strength, you do the 3d6 times 5, you do the same thing for con. For size, you do 2d6 plus 6 and then multiply that by 5. And you do the same thing for your intellect and your education. But everything else is 3d6 times 5. Now let's talk about, I'm playing a 73-year-old. You'll notice that your age can affect how your score comes out. So, because I'm 73, I have to take 40 points away from my strength, con, or dex total. And I have to reduce my appearance by 20. That's not great. My appearance is only 45. So now it's going to be a 25. And then I'm going to figure out where I want to deduct it from those. And then once that is done, I can fill out my sheet. To do an improvement die, you're going to actually take your education improvement check, simply roll percentile dice. If the result is greater than your present education, add 1d10 percentage points to your edu characteristic. EDU cannot go above 99. So what that's saying is my current education is 65. I'm going to take 2 percentile dice, green being the low number, and I have 43. That does not go higher than my education, so I do not get to do it. And I get to do this 4 times because I'm 73. So this one, 38, didn't do it. 82, I did get to roll 1 improvement for that. And this 00 is counted as like a 10, so 106 beats it. So I get to roll this twice and add that to my score. So I got a 2 and a 4, so I get to add. You've seen that I have all of my numbers put in there. I'm pretty ugly. I'm not too happy. But I am 73, so I've led a good life. Now let's figure out what the hit points are. To figure out your hit points, you're going to add your con and your size, and then you're going to divide that by 10, rounding down. So my con is 35, and my size is 45, so that makes it 8. And 8 divided by 10, or 80, divided by 10 is 8. So my starting hit points is going to be a measly 8.
Now when we look at sanity, your starting sanity is going to be the same number as your starting power. So my character will be starting at 45.
Let's talk about luck. To get your beginning amount of luck is you're going to take 3d6 and then multiply that by 5. As you can see, I only rolled 4. And multiply that by 5, I start out with a very low amount of luck. Now, at the end of every session, I have a chance of gaining more luck by rolling a d10, and then I can add that amount onto my list. What you use luck for is when you're doing a check, and if you fail, you can use up to 1 per 1 luck points to bring that up. So if I needed to pass accounting, and let's say I rolled a 57, I can use 2 luck points to get it to 55.
Now your magic points are going to be 1/5 of your power. So if I had a magical character, because lawyers are magical, you would start with 9. The other thing that we need to look at is damage bonus, build, and dodge. As you can see in this table, to figure out your damage bonus and build, you're going to add your strength and your size together, and then the chart will tell you what each one is. So I look at my strength, which is 50, and my size, which is 45, so I have 95. So I actually get no bonus and no build bonus. The final thing is dodge, which is going to be the half of your dex. So for my character, his dex was 45, so it's going to be 22. And then I'm going to do the same thing, or then half is 11, and then it's 2. Yeah, my character does not dodge very well. The other thing that I forgot to go over, which is very important, is going to be your credit rating. So as you can see, it starts at 0, but remember as a lawyer, it went between 30 and 80. I decided not to add anything into it. I'm going to say that I'm a defense attorney, so it's going to be 15, and then that is going to be 6.
Not very good credit rating. What credit rating affects is if you're poor or middle class or upper class or very rich. And it'll depend on how much equipment you can purchase, where the kind of places you would stay, if you have access to a vehicle. So it just adds a little bit of flavor to the story. It also affects how much money you can expect to have on a daily basis. So let's say I'm middle class, so I would have $10 that I can say, okay, well, I went to the tavern, I got a beer, and we don't have to sit down and try and figure out the numbers, or I don't have to take a loan to do it. The next thing we're going to figure out is we're going to figure out the move rate. To do move rate, you need to look at a series of things, which the book explains out and lines out very well. If both your dex and strength are each less than size, you move 7. Remember, my size was 45, my strength is 50, and my dex is 45. So neither are less than. But if either strength or dex is equal to or greater than size, or if all three are equal, I move 8. If strength and dex are greater than size, move 9. Now dex is equal to my size. Strength is more, so I start with a base of 8. But again, my age plays something into it. So I'm in my 70s. I immediately deduct 4 from move. So my movement will be 4. So I'm going to put 4. I move rather slow. Now next, we're going to explain how the investigator skills work. So to get which ones you're going to be putting points into, you need to choose an occupation. For occupation, they give you some sample choices inside the Keeper book. But if you want to get a lot more detailed and extensive list, you're going to go into the Investigator's Handbook. Not only does it give you a complete list of all the possible careers or occupations you can choose, they also give you much more in-depth explanation as to all of them. But we're going to stick with the Keeper Handbook and look at that in more detail. So let's say you decide you want to play a lawyer. That makes sense. I'm 73. I get to choose accounting, law, library use, 2 interpersonal skills. So I can either choose charm, fast talk, intimidate, or persuade, and psychology, and I get to choose any other skills that I want to choose. My credit rating is going to be between 30 and 80, and my occupation skill points is EDU times 4. Since it's education times 4, that's going to be 71 times 4, which is going to be 284. So that's how many points I get to start with. Again, I'm going to write that down so I do not forget. So what does that mean? That means, again, as a lawyer, I'm going to choose charm, and I'm going to actually check them off on my sheet. And I should have 7 total near the end. So swim is probably not going to be on there, but we're just going to say that that was one of the extra skills I chose because, that's how at 73 I keep in shape. I'm going to look at all of the ones that the book tells me I can have, and then I'm going to take those 284 points and I'm going to add them because you'll notice beside each one, so fast talk, that's at 5%. If I want to increase that, I can pump some, but not all of my points because the highest you can go is 99. And while I want to be a fast talker, I may not want to be all of it just being fast talk. Now, of the 7 skills I'm going to choose, I do not have to put any points in all of them. I can pick and choose and put as many as I think I'm going to use. So I'm probably going to use charm a lot. I probably will want to know about law because right now it's at 5%. And so I'm going to add all of those in and I'm going to show you how it looks. I'm done. As you can see, for accounting, I pumped in 50. For fast talk, I put in 54. I chose another language, so I pumped in 50. I get to choose from my education, which is 71 for my own language, so at least I'm able to handle my own. 55 for law, I pumped in 5, and I put in 30 for library use, and then of course swim. Did not do anything for persuade, and I did nothing for psychology. So all of my investigator skills has been filled out. Now, you always have the possibility of trying to roll for any of these other skills, but as you can see, they're so low, it's almost impossible for you to get past. Now, the last thing we need to talk about investigator skills is where we have the 3 boxes. We're going to look at fast talk specifically. So, you have 59, and half of that is 29, and then the 5th is 11. This is considered a normal check. This is a hard check. This is an extreme check. Now, why that matters is because as a keeper, I might say to somebody, hey, I want you to do a hard check to see if you can fast talk your way into a door for a cult that has a wanted poster right next to them. So that means when they roll their percentile dice, I'm asking them to get below 29%. So let's say they get 33. That's when they can use their luck points to get it down to 29 for them to succeed. It also matters if they're doing an opposing check. So for example, if they're trying to fast talk their way inside against a cult member, I might ask them to do an opposing check against the cult member's psychology. And this will matter. So let's say I say, okay, do a fast talk check. And they roll. And they get 58. So they've made the regular check. But the cultist succeeded in getting a hard check. So the cultist doesn't buy it and does not let them in. This also will affect results in combat. Speaking of, let's talk about combat. So, some of the things that you need to know about combat is your dexterity is going to decide the order of attack. And these are some of the actions that you can do on your turn because you're going to do one action. You can initiate the attack using fight or firearms. You can perform a fighting maneuver. You can flee from the combat. You can cast a spell. Or you can perform another action requiring time and perhaps a rolling dice, such as picking a lock while others are fighting. So that's the first thing you need to decide what you're going to do. Fighting is usually brawl or some kind of melee, and firearms can be a gun right in front of them or even from a distance. So you might have to use an action to aim so you can get a higher percentage rate for firearms. So those are the things that you're going to do. When you're being attacked, you have the choice to fight back. You use the target's fighting skill to oppose the attacker's fighting skill. If there's a tie, the attacker will win. If the character chooses to dodge, you use the target's dodge skill to oppose the fighting skill. And the same thing. If you succeed in your dodge, but they have a hard success when they're fighting, they win. They get to then roll their damage dice. If the target is neither fighting back nor dodging, then the surprise attack will happen. Well, we're not going to get into that. That's just so you know. And then resolving a fighting attack made against a target that is dodging. If the attacker achieves a higher level of success, they get to deal their damage, that's where your damage bonus may come into result, depending what kind of weapon you have. So if you're using your fist, you get to roll 1d3. If you're using a gun, it'll be like a 1d6 or a 1d8, and then you get to add in your damage bonus, which is if it's a 1, you get to roll an additional d4 dice, or depending on which weapon you're using. If the defender achieves a higher level of success, they have dodged the attack and take no damage. In the case of a draw, the defender wins when the defender is dodging. If they both fail, no dodge is inflicted. We're going to actually play through an attack round so you can kind of see what I mean and walk you through. All right, so we're going to be doing some combat. Jason here is going to play the zombie, and I'm going to be the investigator, my 73-year-old lawyer. So I'm going through a graveyard, and then through the shadows shambles a zombie. Now, that's not normal in a normal world. So I need to do a sanity check to see how insane I go, or if I go insane at all, or if I'm just like, I've seen better makeup in a movie. So I'm going to roll my sanity, which is my power. And so I actually did not succeed. I rolled 109. I needed to get under 55. So that says that I've gone temporarily insane. That means I'm going to roll a d10 and subtract that from my sanity. So my insanity has gone down to 45, which is not good. At this point, the keeper could decide that I do something or play me, that I initially lose control, and that'll last for so many rounds. I would roll the d10 and realize that in 3 rounds of this game, the keeper is going to control my actions, but we're not going to do that. So let's say I made it under 55, so I'm feeling fine. I'm like, that's a zombie, no big deal. But the zombie's going to come up to me and is going to attack me. Now, they're going to roll their attack, and I have multiple choices like I showed you. I could either fight back, I could try and dodge, I could flee,
I could try and do something else, like say pick up the rake on the ground, or I might look at my actions and decide I can try and charm the zombie and try and convince the zombie that he's my friend. Probably not going to happen. But so he rolled 100.
I rolled 10.
Oh, he rolled 10. I'm sorry. So what is your fighting? So
30%.
So he got a hard success, but did not quite get extreme since his fighting is only 30 and 1/5 of 30 is 6. So I'm going to roll my dodge. I'm going to see that he's is half of my dex, and my dex is 50, so 25. That's not going good. I got 25, so I made a normal success. However, he made a hard success, so he beat me. So now he would be rolling his damage.
1d3, which just isn't a thing.
But if I had decided to fight him instead, I would roll my brawl, or if I had firearms, I would roll firearms. So my brawl would have been 25 as well, so I still would have only had a normal success. So then he would roll his damage against me, and then we would go to my turn. Now I would decide to run. So I run. There is no opportunity attacks. I just get out of dodge. So that is combat. Or if I decided to fight back, we would just continue to roll back and forth until either I've gone completely insane, I've lost all my health. Well, let's say we'll do that. So he rolled his D4 damage. What?
It's a D3.
Oh, he did his D3 damage. My health was 8. So we've gone a couple rounds, and I've actually ended up being hit twice. He's done 6 damage to me, leaving me at 2. Once I get below half of my hit points, I actually take what is a mortal wound. That is not good. And then if I get to 0-0, I'm dead. So that's combat. If someone's with you and they use their action to perform medicine, they might be able to stabilize me. But when I take a mortal wound, I can only heal if I get medicine or someone uses first aid on me. So that is... Now, Call of Cthulhu, I only gave you a generic, very easy description. There's a lot more detail, a lot more little nuance that you can find in the books. For example, I'm not even going to talk about car chases because there are rules with car chases. It's the 1920s. There's prohibitions coming up. There's a lot of that going on. Also a lot of, if you're going on a campaign, how you can recover some of your points, how you can improve your attributes and investigator skills, because you don't level up in this game. So there's 3 levels of insanity. There's the temporary insanity that I explained during combat. There's more of a permanent insanity where your character will lose days, will wake up in a ditch somewhere and not remember what happened in the last 3 days. And then there's a permanent insanity where your character is considered out of the game and is now in an insane asylum, but could come back as a villain later on. So the campaign's a lot more nuanced. There's a lot more to go into. I don't really have time to do that in this video. So in the description, I'm going to add you a couple of resources such as Chaosium Inc.'s website and some other YouTube videos where they spend a lot more time describing all of the details concerning this campaign. I hope you give it a shot. It is a lot of fun, and have fun gaming.